Welcome back to another Reading and Correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing Chapter 26 of The Technician's Fight. Okay, Jeremy. The thing you need to keep in mind is that Kelsirians don't do the till do us death part thing. Everything's very much about the transaction, the contract. So me being, married, actually there's going to be a comma right here. Well, married really isn't the right word here, but it's the only one I can think of. If for is is for a fixed duration. Once the contract ends, we can renew it or renegotiate it or just go our separate ways. On the whole, it's painless, but like with everything, there are exceptions. Right now, I'm looking at the contract and maybe renewing it when it ends, but probably not after that. That should give me enough money to buy myself a ship and return to my array. If I take another turn with them, it's not like the array is going anywhere. At worst, I'm looking at missing a few years of movies because the area's buffer overflowed. I can probably arrange to have someone travel to where those movies will be by then and catch them. Going to cost me, but I'm picking up so many things to use and trade that I'm confident I'll work something out. How about you? You finally run out of men on the ship, as being one of their hunters turned you into the savages Kelsirians use to scare their kids with, and I'm only slightly exaggerating here. Considering most Kelsirians are larger and stronger, they have a very healthy respect for Kelsirians hunters. Something about their gods making them tear and rend rather than think and trade. Might be slow to respond after this. We're hitting a station in a day and it's going to be all hands on deck moving cargo, probably until we leave. As the sole Earther on the ship, I don't think I'll ever run out of males interested in me. But doing it with strangers has lost some of its luster. I'm down to once a week, once a week or two. Once a week or two for going to the club. To a club. Girl comes with me once in a while, but clubs are pretty much all about finding partners to have sex with. So even when we arrive together, we leave apart. He also gets recognized as the captain when I'm there, and that changes the interactions for him. As for among the males I know, Jeremy whistled as he approached the shuttle, and Tomarin eyed him. He chuckled. Sorry, it's just impressively sleek. The word you're looking for is small, his friend replied. That must make it hard on you. I think of it as intimate, and once I can fly it, then all that will take my mind off that little concern. Which is where you expect me to come in, Jimmy said, dubious. Tomarin tapped the panel by the hatch, and it opened. It was a Kelsirian control welded in place of the Earther one, which would have been there before. Yes. Jerry followed him. I don't need the in. Followed him. I don't know how to pilot anything. I mean, put me in a hover and I might be able to remember what my dad taught me when I was a kid, but I've used transit my entire life. His friend stepped quickly to the back. I prefer private transportation. Let's me pass the time with my friends, but I don't need you to teach me how to fly it. I can work that out by myself. I need you to get it working. It's got power. Repair was able to tap into the setup for my lounge and install a system to run anything I'll add. A motion to the space, large by Jeremy's standard, but definitely cozy by Kelsirian ones. They can't touch What's letting it fly unless it's to take it out entirely and replace it with a Kelsirian system? Can you fit one of those in something this sleek? He could see where sections had been cut out to expand what had to be minuscule until then. Tomarin smiled. I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it. But I still can't help. But you have engineering training in antimatter reactor concepts. I can push those into a few of the power adjacent field and manage something, which means I might be able to tell you something about how the power is distributed through the system. But to get this working, you need someone to look at all of them, including maneuvering, inertial, and certainly others I don't know. But you said everything's the same in Earther designs. Jimmy rolled his eyes. Everything's standardized, not the same thing. It means our stuff is highly modular, but I can get multiple things happening with the same dozen circuits depending on how they are connected and the instructions they are given. Tomarin smiled at him, running a finger down Jeremy's shirt. Will you still look at it? Please? I'll repay you generously. Why did it take so long? He put a hand through the fur. His friend leaned in and rubbed muzzle with Jeremy's cheek. I'm not as courageous as you. He returned the rub, then nuzzled down into the neck. Then I'll make sure your courage is properly rewarded. Let's just say that I'm on as short name basis as I can be with nearly all of them now. And yes, that means I have regular sex with them. I like it. I have nothing to compare it with, but it's nice being able to go to one of them on my break and just ask if they want to. Doesn't always line up, but mostly does. As for my training, if Carcetrons think Kelsirians are ferocious, I'm worried what they'll think of Earthers. They gave our hunters trouble when they attempted to kidnap me. I need to read up on how Carcetrons compare with Kelsirians when it comes to stamina. It's the big advantage Earthers have. The training itself is going well. I'm not ready to be active on the line yet, but I'm getting there. I can hold my own in a fight against those who've practiced going up against someone with my stamina, which means I'm the only one they have access to for that. Although they are getting stamina management training now, and I've been adding to what my heart refers to as unorthodox training from someone outside the hunters, the quartermaster. You probably met him while you were here. Let me know if how the all hand on deck went when you have the time. I need to head off for me becoming a savage training. Jeremy moved cautiously along the corridor, listening for motion, gun active. His beta finally considered him skilled enough to train with life scenario instead of static target, and he didn't know how he felt about it. He froze as something ahead clattered and forced his heartbeat to slow. He needed to hear his surrounding, not that. Were there rooms or only hallways and corridors? All he'd been told was that the rest of his pack was somewhere within the training area and he was to take them down. He hadn't even thought of asking something as simple as if he could get a map. And he normally prided himself on being prepared. He reached the intersection, listened, and thought he heard ragged breathing. Someone had been in a fight. Was it him against the rest of the pack, or each hunter for themselves? Something else he hadn't thought to ask, and the information wouldn't have been volunteered. It's a hunter's responsibility to acquire all the tools they'll need for the hunt. What he knew, strongly suspected, was that there were no civilians for this training. Something else he'd forgotten to ask about. He settled his breathing, rushed around the corner, acquired his target, lined the shot, and fired. They went down, and Jeremy returned to cover. No return fire, so he peeked. They were still down. He approached cautiously, eyes on the hand with the gun still in it, his own already pointed. If they twitched, he fired. He took the gun out of her hand, looking at the red light on her chest. I forgot to ask, are we all hunting each other, or am I the only prey? Only the seers get messages from the dead. Skaram replied, but she nodded to the other end of the hallway. Pocketing the gun, he cautiously followed it to the wall. followed the wall to it. He peeked around the corner. Tros was leaning against the wall, reading on her tablet, red light on her chest. Further away, another body was face down on the floor, unmoving. Tros nodded to him as he edged past, then he continued to the other end. Identifying Urim as the other one dead. 3 down meant 3 left, 4 if their beta was part of the training, something else he'd forgotten to ask. But he had said Jeremy's pack and the beta was part of it, so the low-intensity electricity made him twitch, then the light on his chest turned from blue to red. He turned and a grinning Earther waved, getting to his feet, blue light on his chest. What was your mistake? His beta asked in his usual calm tone. No matter how stupid it had been, Thur always managed to maintain a serious, let's learn from this, attitude during the after-training debrief, and Jeremy knew his mistake hadn't been the worst one. I took for granted that because Urim was on the ground, he was dead. Even when having dealt with tech quick to come up with excuses for their mistakes in his time on Einstein and knowing how utterly pointless that was, he still had to shut down the urge to make an excuse of his own. On the line, the mistakes would have killed him, and there would have been no excuses to give. Why? Again, the tone was calm, none of the reproach Jeremy already knew he'd use when he dealt with the techs. 2 set in on the next target. I was thinking ahead instead of in the present. Good. Natriluloa Gorama, where did you make your mistake? Cursor, where's my cursor? There's my cursor. Jeremy looked at the lone survivor of the training in surprise. I overmanaged my stamina. I'd already decided it would be me against Jeremy when Urim dropped on me. I didn't fight as hard as I should have. I took too long to kill him because I didn't risk not having the energy for the final fight. I made the same mistake Jeremy did. I was hunting in the future. Plans are for preparation, the beta said, not expectations. Don't limit yourself to one plan. Think them all and discard them as they become useless. Yamelk snorted. Someone thinks his hunters are seers. I think my hunters can be the best pack on this ship, he replied, and I will not let any of you keep that from happening. Yes, beta, they replied in unison. Hit the showers, shift's over. Jeremy sipped his juice, watching his heart across from him. His plate of meat barely touched. He was reading on his tablet, not a rare thing, especially when they were on a hunt, which he picked up from the talk among the other hunters while changing in and out of training. On the scent of a pirate was what he'd gathered, but this didn't feel entirely like him being engrossed in a report. Growl? His heart nodded. Oh, my heart, care to acknowledge my existence? He smiled when Growl looked up in surprise. Sorry. Important report, I take it. Another nod, but Growl pushed the tablet away. Sorry. I shouldn't have brought it with me. Anything you can tell me? Anything you can tell me? I don't need that back. Anything you can tell me? Only a hunter, Jeremy didn't get to ask all the details, but Growl was his heart. He could pry. He glanced at the tablet. The contact I made while on the station came through. That pirate ship we're hunting. Hunter talks. Hunters talk, he added, and Growl chuckled. I remember. And unless my contact is wrong, it will appear to be a pirate ship. Which means they'll be Earther, Jer. Passing themselves as pirates while they conduct a hunt of their own. He ground his teeth. For me. I don't think so. Not this time, at least. I think they're hunting for Spreading Branch. Why would the Earther military bother with them? All they're doing is telling the Earthers out here within the Federation about what's taking place on Earth, giving them news of what their loved one may be going through. They're also telling our stories. But we're not that important. But broadcasts carry. And in a few centuries, maybe half a millennia, it'll reach Earth. Not that they'll care any more by then. Bob collects movies from ancient Earth, remember? That's the kind of timescale he estimates they're from. Spreading Branch uses instant broadcast, which requires special receivers that only special people have. For anyone on the ship to call someone off it? with it, they go through your comm officer, which means you get to control who hears what, officially. The quartermaster has his own system. I know of 2 civilians who have one as well. I expect that the situation is similar within Earth's territory. Okay? So people hear about me and you. This Earther, the government tells everyone is deadly sick and uses my love for you as confirmation for it. How many people do you think know what they have isn't the sickness the government tells them? Jimmy closed his mouth. The number had to be low, minuscule even. But the problem with percentage was that as low as it was, when the population was large enough, it still gave you a big number. What was the Earther population across their entire territory? The last number you remember was in the low trillions. The low trillion. They couldn't remember how long ago. But still, it's just some illegal, from their point of view, news station. That doesn't warrant that kind of action. What do you think would? What might cause a government to take military action against anyone? The belief they posed a threat. If there was no way they could believe, but if there was no way they could believe news about him and Graal were really a threat, then what? They have instant calm. They had something. They have something anyone with the right transmission can. They have something anyone with the right transmitter can not only listen to, but contact back as well. All they need is a set of code languages, and they could coordinate actions. He looked at Growl. The Earthers think they are masterminding something? The look he received said he wasn't thinking far enough. You think they're doing that? I strongly suspect they are. I already have confirmation they have a set of code words. It's how they got Bob to contact them so we would know where to find him. They keep using sets of words at the start and end of their broadcast. The packs have analyzed them. The packs I have analyzing them are confident as code. What does it say? I don't know. I'm not having them break it. Confirming my suspicion is enough. Okay? So you're worried Earthers are operating within the Federation? That's just about been confirmed with this. So what are you worried about? Growl looked uncertain. It's going to be an Earther ship, no matter what it looks like from the outside. Okay, so tight corridor, target with high stamina, although they probably aren't expecting to be going up against Kelsirian. Earther tech. Jimmy shook his head, still not understanding why that was a concern. An Earther reactor that will have to be neutralized to ensure they can't escape. Oh, there was only one reason that would concern his heart. Am I ready? That is questionable, and I expect the leadership will force me to have an answer for them about it after I file my report. But you are the only expert I have, and you are a hunter. My concern is a repeat of what happened with the pirates. With the pirates, that would be plural. They basically caused that themselves by mixing and matching the tech. Growl chuckled. I mean then capturing you to sell to the Earthers. Only those will be the Earthers they would have sold you to. There's no chance they won't know who you are when you board their ship. The idea could be taken again scared him, so he looked at the probabilities. I'm going to be with my pack. At least one more. And at least one more. It's your pack's first time on the line, you'll have assistance. 2 packs. I have training, they'll have my back, I have a gun. And you can be sure I'm not going to be afraid to use it. Which led Jeremy to Jeremy's other fear. But he was a hunter. I will kill if I have to, Growl. If that's what it takes to come back to you, I will do it. I'm glad to hear that. He smirked. But just focus on returning to the shuttle when it's over. I'll make my way there too. Right. His heart wasn't a leader who stayed behind. They wouldn't be fighting alongside, but they would both be fighting. And that concludes chapter 26 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is up on Ream Story. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.